Hey, it's Caleb from StayLakeNorman. There's a few things we want to talk about with our boat rental before you get started. The four main things we want to go over is 1, we want you to have fun. 2, we want you to be safe. 3, we want everybody else on the lake to be safe. And 4, we want the boat to be safe. So, once again, we want you to have fun, but we want everybody to have a safe time doing it. If you didn't know, every single boat in North Carolina is required to have a capacity limit on it. Right next to the steering wheel, there's a capacity sticker. That's going to tell you the amount of people that can be on the boat and the amount of weight that can be on the boat. Now, it's very important that you realize it's whichever one of those numbers comes first. So for instance, if you have 2 adults and 10 children on a 12 capacity boat, it doesn't matter what the weight capacity is because you've already reached the person capacity. We're going to go ahead and outfit your boat rental with as many life jackets as holds the capacity of the boat that we spoke about before. So every boat's a little bit different, but most likely the life jackets are going to be located underneath a seat. So in this particular boat, we'll look underneath this seat. Now there's 2 types of life jackets you might see on a boat. One is going to be a generic over-the-neck orange life jacket. The second is going to be more of your recreational type life jacket. Now we outfit these boats with the capacity, again, of an average adult size life jacket. It's actually your responsibility to ensure that you have the right proper fitting life jackets for every single individual riding in the boat. We have great rental companies that we work with that can help deliver those before you even arrive, or they can help you outfit the right sizes. One more thing that we're going to have on every single boat is a throwing life jacket. So this is a Type 4 PDF. It's required that we have it right near the driver's seat. It must be within arm's reach of the driver at all times. So if you ever get pulled over, make sure you know where this is. If you've ever driven a jet ski before, you know that it usually comes with a lanyard of some sort that has a push button that you put a U-shaped key into. Well, the newer boats that we use to rent to you have something similar to this. It's called an emergency kill switch. It's going to be right next to the key on this particular boat. You can see it's underneath. The boat absolutely will not start without this kill switch engaged. We leave this in for you at all times. The only time you would ever need to pull this is if there is an emergency. It will stop the boat immediately and ensure that the engine cuts off. This is what it looks like. Slide it underneath the red button. Ensure that you hear the click. Then your boat can start. So with an outboard motor, you're going to have a trim button located right here on your gear shift. There's an up and a down option. Now when you receive your boat, most likely the engine's going to be all the way down in the water. It's imperative that these boats, while they're running, the engine stays in the water. That's because they're water cooling engines. If they run while they're out of the water, that means in about 40 to 90 seconds, that engine could blow up. The last thing we want to do is have to charge you for a new engine. So when you're driving the boat and the engine's running, you want to make sure the trim's all the way down. In case of an emergency, if you do need to raise the trim, once again, there's a simple up button that you press and hold. Before you start again, make sure that you hold the down button until the motor stops moving. Now, don't listen for the sound of the motor moving. Make sure you lay eyes on it and ensure that the motor has completely stopped moving all the way down before you start the engine again. Just like any vehicle, there's a battery that helps operate a boat. Now, on our boats, we have an emergency kill switch. It's also called a battery saver switch. On this particular boat, I'm going to show you where that is. Now when you receive your boat for check-in, the battery switch is going to be turned off. In order to start your boat, you have to ensure that the battery switch is turned on. Now the most important thing to remember is after you've had all the fun on the lake and you guys come back, that you switch off the battery. The worst thing that is going to happen is if you come down at 9 a.m., bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, ready to take the family out on the lake, and your boat won't start because you forgot to switch the battery off. We don't want to have to charge you to come out and jump start it. So just remember, even after you're tired, you're hot, you're sweaty, and everybody's hungry and you get home, you want to make sure you turn the battery saver off before you leave the boat. In case you guys want to stop and enjoy the water, enjoy the view, or maybe even have lunch on your boat, we've got an anchor there for you. Every boat's going to be equipped with one of these. And in your guidebook, there's going to be specifics on exactly how to anchor your boat so that it doesn't float with the current. In the same compartment as the boat anchor, there's going to be an emergency paddle here. Now I know you never want to use this, but in the event that you guys are in the lake and it won't start, this is your rescue device. Simply lean over the edge, get a workout in, paddle your way to safety, and then call an emergency towboat or our company and we'll figure out a way to help you. 2 fun facts. Make sure when you're paddling to safety, you paddle on each side of the boat. The last thing you want is to realize that you're just paddling in a big circle. Also, trust me, I say this because we've gotten a call, make sure you pull your anchor before you start to paddle. Every single one of our rental boats is going to have a Bimini top here for you to enjoy the shade. We know the sun's hot, so enjoy it. But a couple notes for you. 1, you want to make sure if there's a thunderstorm coming in that you put it down. The second thing is, every single time you go under a bridge, doesn't matter how tall the bridge is, we ask that you put the Bimini top down all the way. We don't want to have to charge you to replace the Bimini, and we don't want to have to put the work in to replace the Bimini. We want everybody to enjoy the shade, including the guests coming after you. To put your Bimini down and put it back up, it really takes 2 different people. So every boat's a little bit different, but most commonly, there's going to be 2 different types of clips, a metal one and a plastic one. We're going to show you how to lower the Bimini safely with 2 people so that you can see, so that you make sure that there's no damage to the Bimini when you go under any bridges. I'm just going to give you one number to remember while you're out on the lake, and that's 300. We ask that you stay 300 feet from every shoreline and from every shoal sign that you see. So we know you may not be familiar with shoal signs if you haven't boated on Lake Norman. So a few things for you. If there's one shoal sign, you want to make sure that you don't go anywhere near it. If it's closer to the shore, that means it's shallow between the shoal sign and the shore. If there's 2 shoal signs, then that means it's going to be shallow between the signs. So once again, stay 300 feet from any shoreline and any shoal sign. One other thing to mention in relationship to shorelines and even docks is that North Carolina has a state law. If you're within a certain distance away from a dock or a shoreline, that you have to be going idle speed. That's also known as a no wake zone, to where there's no waves coming from behind your boat. So once again, 300 feet, you want to make sure that you have no wake, you're just going an idle speed if you're 300 feet from any dock or any shoreline. We've talked about bridges before, that's also a no wake zone, or where you need to go idle. Now most bridges will have a buoy that says clearly no wake zone, but in case it doesn't, just remember, 300 feet from a bridge, you also want to make sure you're going idle speed and not causing any waves. And remember, don't forget to put your Bimini down. One of the trickiest parts of boating might just be pulling it into the dock. Now, there are tons of different types of docks, but I want to go over just a few things. For instance, if you look at this boat that I'm standing on, it's a little too close to the front of the dock slip. What I'd prefer is 2 to 3 feet from the front of the boat to the end of the dock slip. Now, one other thing I want to talk about is if you don't feel confident when you're docking a boat, the best time to practice is when there's no wind, there's no current, and the lake is extremely calm. We find this is usually during the weekdays that you can give this a go. Maybe during the early morning, pull the boat out, pull it back into where you found it, and just be sure that you feel confident before you go visit any other place that's going to require you to dock. Now the last thing to remember is that we put our boats in a certain spot for a certain reason. Just make sure that you put the boat back where you found it and don't try and get tricky and put it somewhere else. When you're boating on the lake, you're gonna encounter other boats, whether that be a powered boat, a jet ski, or maybe even a kayak and paddleboard. So it's important that you understand right of way. A rule of thumb is if you look between 12 and 3 o'clock of the driver's seat, that's the boats that you need to give right of way. Now these are only powered vessels, so make sure if you see a boat between your 12 and 3 that you wait and you allow them to go first. Some other boats that you want to make sure you give right of way to. Any power boat that is pulling someone doing a recreational sport. Any vessel that isn't powered, you need to give the right of way to. That could be a sailboat, that could be a paddleboard, or a kayak, or something else. The last thing that you want to make sure you give right of way to, which goes without saying, is going to be people that are in the lake. There's some people that just like to put an inflatable in the middle of the lake and hang out. Make sure you stay far enough away from them, and anybody that's in the water, that you make sure you stay 300 feet away from them. One of the most dangerous things on a lake could be boating after dark. Now, we have strict guidelines that require all of our rentals to ensure that they don't boat after dusk and before dawn. So, we know you might be an early riser, or you might want to sleep in, but if you get up early while on vacation, make sure that you wait till the sun comes up to boat on the lake. All right, let's talk about troubleshooting 101. If you're in your boat and it won't start, I'm going to give you 3 major things to check before you call us and tell us that there's an emergency. The first one we've already talked about. Make sure that you have the battery power on. The second thing that you're going to want to check, we've also talked about before, and that's the kill switch. Now, every now and then, if you accidentally bump this, it may affect it. So make sure if the boat doesn't start that you check the kill switch and it's properly inserted. The last thing, and this might be the most common, is that your boat isn't in neutral. If the boat's not in neutral, it won't start. So even though it looks like it's in neutral, if it's not starting, do me a favor. Put it in forward until it clicks. Then pull it in reverse until it clicks. Last thing, put it back in neutral and make sure that it clicks in that center position. If then the boat won't start, give us a call and we'll help you out. We've aimed to make this check-in process and check-out process as easy as possible. So what you'll know is when you give us a call, you're going to receive an email with a pre-inspection form of what the boat looks like within 24 hours of you arriving. Now, what that's going to include is the amount of life jackets on the boat, the fuel level of the boat, the pictures of the outside of the boat. Now, when you're checked out and you're done, we're going to come in within 24 hours again and we're going to do a post-inspection. If you have any questions about your refund or your security deposit, please let us know, because we'd be happy to share the post-inspection, relate it to the pre-inspection with you, and ensure that if there's any damage to the boat, that if it's your fault or our fault, we make sure we understand what happened and how we can repair it. Now, to make this as easy as possible, we've tried to put all the information you need to boat safely and enjoy your time on the lake right here with these QR codes. Simply scan, you'll see what it's listed as, and you can watch the videos, read the documents, and make sure that you understand everything you need to know to be safe and enjoy your boat. Some things to note that are on here. 1, we'll have a detailed layout of the specific boat that you have. This might include where the battery saver is on your boat, where the anchor and paddle are on your boat, or any other specifics to your boat in particular. 1 also is going to be to the guidebook in reference to the boat. This is going to have some helpful videos and reading material, such as proper ways to dock, proper ways to tie up your boat, and some really important North Carolina state laws that you may not know about that pertain to the water. For instance, if you didn't know, open containers are okay, but they must be beer or wine. Wait till you get home to pour yourself a nice whiskey. Now, if you haven't looked at it, make sure you do, or you can simply scan the QR codes again and pull up that guidebook. Some more things that it's going to have for you are going to be some of our rental rules. It's going to have a copy of our contract in it so you can ensure you understand exactly what you signed. It's going to have emergency contacts, such as towboat in case you run out of gas. And it's also going to have local marinas and local restaurants that you can enjoy and spend your time visiting while you're on the lake. Every boat is going to have a lockbox that looks very similar to this. Now, this is where your key is going to be before your check-in. So after you've completed this video, you'll call us in, give us the code, we'll go through a few proper check-in procedures over the phone, then you'll get an access code to this lockbox. Simply type in the access code, allow the lock to unlock, open it, and there's your boat key. That's as simple as that. When you're done with the boat, and unfortunately you've got to go home, I ask that you do one more thing for us. Make sure you clean up all the trash, make sure the boat's exactly how you found it, and take the key and simply put it in the center console in the waterproof bag that you'll find. This will be perfect to allow us to do your post-inspection and make sure you get your security deposit back on time. Now, I know you're probably tired of listening to me, but I'm almost done, I promise. Then you can start enjoying the lake. A few final things to remind you of. If you're close to a shore, close to a shoal sign, you want to make sure that you stay idle speed. And remember, 300 feet, that's the proper distance that you want to stay away. Make sure you're not creating waves near any docks or any shorelines. Make sure you keep everybody safe on your boat by ensuring you know where the life jackets are, where the anchor is, where the paddle is. Couple more things to remember. Main channels on lakes can get really busy, especially during weekends. So, if you are going to use recreational activities such as skis, wakeboards, tubes, ensure that you're finding a private cove that's large enough that you can enjoy those on. Now, I know you wouldn't let your kids, your grandkids, your nieces, your nephews, anybody that you love ride a bike on the interstate, so don't pull them in a tube on the main channel. Last thing is, make sure you have fun. Well, once again, I'm Caleb from StayLakeNorman. I'm so happy that you've decided to stay with us, and I can't wait to hear about your stay.